the SHOCKFLO G1 portable level 2 EV charger. It's basically a charge cable. It goes up to 40 amps, and it has a variable adjustment. So you can go from 16 to 40 amps, 16, 20, 24, and 32, and 40 amps. So that adjustability is really handy, especially with vehicles that don't have that adjustability on the settings. They just accept whatever you plug into them. So this one, you can adjust the amps for your needs. Now, it plugs into a standard NEMA 14 to 50 outlet. So this is pretty standard as far as, EV charging. And it's waterproof, IP67, so you don't have to worry about rain getting on it or something like that. Now, the operating temperature is negative 22 Fahrenheit to 122 degrees Fahrenheit, so it can handle a good broad range of temperatures there. So when I've received mine, it came in this box like this, so not a fancy box or anything. So it has this little sticker there that gives you some basic information. But other than that, it just says SHOCKFLO without the W. And this seems to be a relatively new company. So we'll go ahead and open it up. And one thing I like about it is, let's go ahead and get this box out of the way because that's all there is to it. It's just a cardboard box. But it has this really nice bag. Some of these chargers come in with this little tiny bag. And the bag is just enough to where they can coil it up, the actual charger up in there one time, and then trying to get it back in the bag is a pain. This is a nice, thick, wide, and you can see there's empty space. So now, of course, they're going to have it coiled tight, but considering the little bit of extra space in there, just to kind of give you the ability to get it back in the same bag, especially with a portable charger, you want to be able to put it in a bag and out all the time. And so having it to where you can't fit it back in the bag is not fun. So this one is a nice big bag here. So it's easy to carry it around and get it in and out. So you can see this is completely still wrapped up. There's the outlet there. Another thing about this one that I'm liking initially, I don't have obviously long-term experience with it, but my initial thoughts here is this plug is a sealed plug, so it doesn't have like the screw holes in it. Screw holes that's like a plug that you were to put together and rewire the end of a plug on the end of a wire. This is actually made from the factory, sealed up, and because some of them they come in and they have like this hard plastic, put together type thing. This one's sealed up. So it's showing a 1450P, which is the plug. The 1450R would be the receptacle. Sometimes you see that in online. Different terminologies for that kind of thing. All right, so there it is. So it's not really a white. It's more like a silver. Looks white in the pictures. Maybe I looked at it wrong. But you can see it's coiled up nicely, and the cable is kind of flexible here. Let me get rid of this flap here. Actually, let's go ahead and take everything out. This is another thing I like about it. It comes with this little dock, so you can mount it to the wall, and then that way you can slip it in and out. That's great. Really handy for a portable charger, because you don't necessarily want to just lay this on the floor. Plug it in, just lay it down, and then plug your vehicle. Even though it's a portable, you still want to have a place to hang it in your garage or wherever, just to keep it off the ground. Okay, so I got all the packaging off of it. And I guess we'll look at the nozzle here. It's looking pretty cool. It has like this little shiny piece right there on the side. Feels good. Has a little click. Now it's showing some kind of certification here. We'll look into that. Then there's some information here on the bottom. Here's the information on the bottom of the handle, the nozzle here. Here's the certification. Here's the brand, SHOCKFLO without a W. We have some more information here at the top. All right, and then it has this little rubber boot. Take that off, and we can see the pins here. Actually, this accepts the pins. The pins are in the vehicle, but they're made to. It's interesting. It's kind of like a double overlap. So when you plug this in, when you're hanging this, water doesn't get in there, and it basically is designed to keep water and debris out as much as possible, as long as you don't allow it in. So that's where that comes in. Now this can still leak water, so you want to make sure you double check that. All right, so this feels good. This is a really good feeling nozzle. So let's look at the main unit here a little closer, and it has the buttons to not only have adjust the current, but also set a delay between the time that you're plugging it in and the time you want it to start charging. So that way, if you wanted to wait it to a certain time at night or whatever, when you have cheaper electricity, you can do that. All right, we've got some information here on the back side. There's also a little place to hang it there. It's pretty neat. All right, 40 amp charger. Now here it says model number is CG04. So on the paperwork it says a G1, or in the website it says G1. So there's the different rating, current ratings, and how you decipher the LED display. Then there's cautions, warnings, all that kind of stuff. Here's the manual. So it's pretty basic. Easy to understand. One of the things I like to pay attention to is the wire size. So this one has UL here on the wire, and it says 10 AUG wire. And this is on the short section. So it's a 10 AUG wire here on the short section, which my understanding is that's too small. Maybe it's because of the short length for 40 amps. But it shows 10 AUG wire. And then on the longer portion, this is showing 9 AUG, which is a little bit thicker, and then an 18 AUG for the communication wire. So that's not actually flowing current. It's the 9 AUG or 9 gauge wire that's flowing the electricity. So 9 and 10 gauge wire for up to 40 amps. We'll see. I'll have to check the temperatures, and we'll see if these wires get warm. But it should. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a huge problem, but just something that I wanted to point out that it's a little bit different than other chargers I've seen. I'll just say that. Now, when you plug it in, it has an error on the screen, and the error is just letting you know that the vehicle is not plugged in. So it's just basically says PE error, and basically that just goes away once you plug in. So it's not a big deal. You adjust the current here. Now, I'm not going to recommend going over 30 amps on this particular charger, and I'll explain why. But you can see that's how you change the current, and then the delay is how many hours it waits before it starts charging. So if you wanted to wait until a certain time of night when there's like cheaper electricity or whatever the case may be, you can add a delay up to 12 hours, which is great. So the nozzle's really high quality feeling, snaps in place perfectly. And this is the way it charges, has the green lights that rise up. And I use a lower amperage when I charge in general, but specifically for this one, I'd highly recommend charging below 30 amps. So you can see it just gives you the time, the voltage, how many amps it's charging at, the kilowatts specifically, and the temperature as well. Okay, so now let's get into the actual wire issue. So it does not have the right amperage. So it's supposed to have an 8-gauge wire. It has a 10-gauge wire. 10-gauge wire is for 30 amps maximum. So that's why I say don't use this charger. That's my recommendation, over 30 amps. Because looking at the thermals, the temperature is not a huge temperature at 40 amps. But I wasn't brave enough to plug this thing in at 40 amps and let it sit overnight while I'm sleeping to charge the car, because of the way the 10-gauge wires. There's 10-gauge wires in a 40 amp charger. 10 gauge is for 30 amp. It's not even rated for the 32 amp. So we have 10-gauge wire for a 40 amp charger. So keep it under 30 amps, not even the 32. I don't even recommend that. It does get warm to the touch, but it doesn't feel like it's getting overly hot. But just the fact that it's not rated at 10, at the wire's not rated for 40 amps, it's not something. I would never put a 10-gauge wire on a 40 amp circuit in my house. So I'm just not going to do it and just leave that overnight and let it go. So that's my recommendation. It seems like a quality charger, but it just doesn't have the correct wire size in it. So maybe if they fix that issue, then maybe I'd be more inclined to recommend it. Now, it seems fine for under 30 amps. So if that's what you need and it's right for you, then go for it.